Good evening, everybody. My name is Zita Maharaj, and I'm a career advisor here at CAPS, which ironically happens to be my dream job. But it didn't happen that quickly, and I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you why. If you asked me when I was 5 years old what I wanted to do when I grew older, it was to be a teacher or to be on TV. The only thing I've ever known about myself was being behind a microphone and feeling alive. But it's not as simple as it sounds. Really, it's not. So around 15 years old, I started a music magazine that was published nationally, not internationally, but nationally. And I remember getting into a quarrel with my parents, mostly my dad, when I told him my high school principal said it was okay for me to take my chemistry exam after I came back home from Toronto interviewing Mary DeBlige. He didn't talk to me for 3 days. Jiggy, you must stay home and do your studies. Being a Canadian of immigrant parents means you gotta do well, because they came here for a reason. And I couldn't understand why he was so upset. But now I recognize and I see how proud he is to look back and see that I still killed my history exam, but I also published a very good interview. So, coming into university now, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna go to J school. It was all I ever knew. I have already been published. I have been publishing my own work and interviewing people and having people be interviewed for years. It was a given. Well, let me tell you, I did not get in. And would I change it now? No. At the time, it was my biggest failure. And I was freaking out. But Dennis actually took all of my speech, so I'm going to have to tell you just through this experience, you got to roll with it, man. You got to figure it out. And every failure now I look at as my success. And every single thing that I recognize my parents, when my mom is here today, to still show me she encourages me. Everything that I didn't do well, I had to go back and figure out. So I didn't get into J school. Oh my God. I found out from a friend of mine about a program in Toronto, not Ryerson, which is vocational school, radio, television, broadcast. That was it. I was fixated. I'm going. My parents let me leave at 22 years old to live on my own and figure out how to become a radio, television broadcaster. I should rewind just a moment and say at 16, I started working at a radio program as well. So I had already been doing it for a number of years. So I just needed to get that paper. I just needed to be certified. What I needed to realize was me moving was what helped me figure out who I needed to be. I grew up. I learned how to cook. I learned how to budget. I understood that calling my parents was out of joy, not because I needed them to figure out what to do next. I realized that I was making friends in another city, and they were great people, and they accepted me like I was. It was awesome. I moved back to Montreal around 2008, and while I was in Toronto, I had a voice agent because I was doing radio commercials. And during that time frame, I was asked if I would model. I said, say what? I don't do that. Why don't they do that? Well, because nobody models that looks like me. I grew up feeling insecure and overweight and unattractive. Let's just be straight up about it. Well, I moved back to Montreal, and within 3 months of me moving back, I was headhunted by an agency, and I've been plus-size modeling since. So it's been 8 years. And I've taken that experience to every single interview, every job, everything I've done, because I helped defy the odds of what I saw when I grew up. I can now say that I can see somebody like me on TV because I made that dream happen. Without a degree in journalism, I ended up working for Global. I did summer in the city. I was doing their weather and I was doing their animations for a while. I just recently did a stint over on Breakfast Television as a producer. And I mentioned that, am I done already? Oh, okay. I mentioned that because, no, you're fine. I mentioned that because during all of the times I was trying to make it in media, I was studying in education. These were two things I said since I was 5 I wanted, remember? Being a teacher or being on TV. And it never mattered to me the size of the audience, whether it's a one-on-one with a student in my office, or if it's an auditorium full of gorgeous people that will actually want to hear what I have to say. My goal is the same, to leave you feeling passionate about what you want to get done. And I use my story to try to harvest that for you. So this is a full circle moment for me. Having my parents support me, letting me leave, welcoming me back when I came back home, having my friends support me while I was there, making new friends, having people recognize that what I wanted to do was bigger than me. The drive was alive, and it still is. So if you ask me now, where I'm no longer 25, if you ask me what it is, it's the same thing. But the key piece in this is we don't always stay who we are. Dennis said it very well. And you also mentioned, your boss who's still learning. You guys, we don't stay the same. So who you are then is not who you're going to be tomorrow. And what's interesting is find your passions and make it work for you. So in my job interview for this position that I currently have, my boss said, I find it really interesting that you have this media background. How does this work for you in education? And I said exactly the same thing. And he supports all of this in me. Both of my bosses do. And they support it because they recognize this new future of education and work is putting together the things that you love and making sure that you find happiness. And as a small gesture right now, if you turn around and look at every single person next to you, go ahead, turn around, I swear to you, do it right now. Some people you may know, and some people you may not. But the power of networking is so crucial to who you are and where you're headed, that sometimes the biggest piece of the educational institutions are the people you meet along the way. So sometimes you might start bartering with somebody. Well, you do really great design work, and I have this really great idea. Let's make it happen. Allow for that to be your motto. Make it happen. The future of education, I didn't get into the program that I wanted originally, but I made it happen. Where you're headed, it's okay for you to put them all together. And through all of these wonderful people, you're going to hear a story of a struggle, and from them finding their way. And who they are today, they may not be the same tomorrow, and that's really okay. So if you're questioning where you're at, sit down and write yourself a list. These are the things I want to do. These are the places I want to go. And as a career advisor, first of all, you can come and check me. I'm across the street, there's an appointment, and I'll help you out. But these are one of the things I would tell you to do, is to be honest and write down the things you want to pursue. And let's find a way to help you make that happen, because you can. And arts and science come together beautifully. And so do all of the different locations that we're going to hear about later on. Thank you.